Fear lent Romeo its strange strength. While Jamie greeted and thanked Guy and paid him in advance, the dog trotted across the meadow to a huge Sitka spruce, did his spryest leg lift in years, then beamed his inimitable smile back at Jamie as if to say, "See? Limber as can be, strong stream, pleasant smelling too. No need for vets, I'm fine and dandy." Jamie wished Romeo would just wander into the mist, leaving him with this forever. Wishing accomplished the usual nothing. And when the dog cantered back to Jamie, his tail now wagging despite the presence of Guy, Jamie grew so nauseous with the sense of betrayal that he half collapsed into the wet grass. While Guy watched in silence, Jamie gruffly ordered Romeo to lie down beside him. Romeo hadn't disobeyed him yet. Turned out he never would. Jamie slid Romeo's body, suddenly old and painfully knotted again, onto his lap. The dog panted hard, kept an eye on Guy Lee, but tried to smile up at Jamie, grateful for this awkward but rare intimacy. Guy said, "Ready?" Jamie clamped a hand round Romeo's muzzle to prevent a bite. Guy slipped a tourniquet around Romeo's foreleg, located a vein, produced the sedative syringe from his green lab coat pocket, calmly remarked, "This is the relaxer," and drove the fluid into Romeo's bloodstream before Jamie or Romeo could fully take it in. An instant later, the fatal syringe was in Guy's hand, already poised. Loathing the man's efficiency, but recognizing the desperate lateness of his and Romeo's united six-legged life, Jamie gazed down into the dog's brown eyes, put his theatrical training fiercely to work, drove Guy from his mind, and made Romeo alone his focus. He couldn't bear to say, "It's going to be all right." He couldn't bear to say anything. As he gazed at Romeo, the words "unforgivable mercy" floated into his head and stayed there. Odd-sounding concept. Yet there it lay in his lap, still adoring him, still beautiful despite the fear. Guy glanced the final question. Romeo panted hard but kept his eyes locked on Jamie's. Without a glance at Guy, staying faithful to their eye lock, Jamie nodded. In went the syringe. Actor that he was, Jamie's calm appeared perfect as he asked, "Will it be fast?" But when Guy answered, "Very," something amorphous and black rose up in Jamie's chest and flopped over in a spilled heap. And whatever that black thing is, Jamie says, it'll never leave. He says it's flopped over and spilled in him still. Yet Romeo kept on panting. He kept on panting. Jamie tried not to run with this, tried not to pray that Guy had underdosed him, maybe grabbed the wrong syringe, tried not to picture himself saying, "Well, we gave it a shot, Romeo, but fuck this, let's go home." Guy even began, to Jamie's joy, to look slightly panicked. Then came the snap. Jamie felt it throughout Romeo's body, and that's what the snap made of him, a body, a dog no more. But a split second, split eternity, split hair after the snap, or maybe simultaneous to the snap, but deep inside it, Jamie felt something in the atoms that comprise the very wall of this world, felt it with his whole being, including body and mind. Who can open the doors of his face? Asks the Job poet. But the question is rhetorical, a faith statement in disguise. The poet is certain that the only possible answer is an odd, "No one." Yet at the instant of death, instant of the snap, Romeo, Jamie, and a third body they'd built through 17 years of intimacy discovered something. Simultaneous to the nervous system recoil that ended their united life, Jamie felt a perfectly crafted, airtight door open, felt his friend shoot silently through, felt the door close, felt the slight suction of its closing, and a thing that wasn't there was there. Jamie was transported. What struck him first was the impossible door's perfect minimalist beauty. What he sensed as Romeo left him was the most exquisitely crafted device imaginable because there was nothing to it. Death's door, as he experienced his closest friend darting through, was the handiwork of an aesthetic so sublimely minimal that the artifact supposedly created by it, death itself, wasn't even there. The body, abandoned in a split second, was now dead matter, and the beloved being was gone with an ease so total it left being intact. Gone into a what? As what? Gone where? Who knew? Legends and scriptures abounded, and Jamie would now read them with a fresh, opened mind. In defiance of every expectation he'd had, the shooting away of Romeo's life struck him as a perfect work of the unseen's art. To feel the opening and closing of death's door was to touch the very carpentry of the invisible. Nothing to see, nothing to hold on afterward but an emptied dog. Yet Jamie felt sure after the tick and tiny suction that his dog had indeed been emptied, that the being he loved had departed intact, and that this world was no longer the only world. It was one of a now accessible two. The darker, sadder one with singing thrushes, cold mist, and beautiful, shaggy old evergreens in it. Gazing at this world's trees, gazing at the very spruce Romeo's blithe piss still warmed, Jamie's jaw went slack and he was a child again, hunched on a rug with his sister Jude, looking at their dead mother's elaborate old wooden advent calendar with 25 camouflaged countdown doors hiding ever greater gifts behind the world wall. Staring at the spruce, the meadow, the mist between, Jamie felt the gift he'd called Romeo hovering behind an advent wall of trees and water vapor, intact in every way that counted, the feel of his hidden smile traveling back through a crack to Jamie. And the solaces grew so vast, they defeated grief. Holding Romeo's cooling body in his lap, Jamie was awash in the same pure wonder he'd felt when Lily's tiny body, fully formed and perfect, slid into this world from a realm whose advent door had preposterously been Risa. He hadn't understood then, he didn't understand now. He just sensed without understanding that the darting of Romeo's life out of this world was not the opposite of Lily's birth, but its twin.